Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. This is your host, Steve Ramona, and I'm going international again today. I'm excited. It's a place I want to go to with my wife, is Spain, and I've said that publicly. Now I have. But I'm very interested in my next guest because he's done a lot, but he's got a lot to share to help you understand business, but also how to serve in business, which we're all about here in Servant's Heart. Mac, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So in the green room, before the show, we talked about you owning a soccer team. You're from North Carolina. Now you're in Spain owning a soccer team. Why?
Well, it's a fair question. Soccer has been a big part of my life. If you would have talked to me at almost any point between the ages of 5 and probably 22, soccer occupied most of my energy and brain and passion and all of my goals and dreams. And so it was a big part of my upbringing. And I really just thought of the world through that lens. My goals in life were play in college, be an All-American, play professionally. That's all I ever thought of. And I was very fortunate to check off some of those boxes from a soccer perspective. But, candidly, after 25, 27 years, I guess it's been now as an entrepreneur, I've always had this kind of itch in the back of my mind and I've been very fortunate, by the way. A lot of my companies have intersected my love of business, technology with soccer as a subject. So I've been able to weave it in and out of my life. But at the end of this, last kind of chapter, I thought I really want to fully embrace, what it would be like to own a team, run it as a business, think about it differently, bring the best of American sports to the best of Spanish soccer. I just had this really, kind of excitement around the idea. And so ultimately, after years of diligence and finding the right project, we decided to buy a team.
So crossover of sports and business is all over, and you're doing that now. The other thing you said was passion. How important that is in business? You're going to your dream and passion.
Yeah, for me, I've been incredibly fortunate. After I started my first company in 1995, I started an internet company literally right after Netscape launched the commercial web browser. So I was incredibly early, lucky, fortunate, had an 8-figure exit in my mid-20s. And from that moment, I just sort of decided I love business. I loved startups. I had an amazing outcome, even though it's easy to forget how hard we worked and slept on the floor and all the things that we did to get there. But seeing the result, I thought, why would I not pursue only working on things I'm incredibly passionate about? And so literally my next company was soccer related. It sort of brought my passion for soccer with my love of emerging technology. And almost ever since that moment, that's been kind of a guiding force for me, is what gets me excited when I wake up in the morning. If I'm going to work hard, which I know I am, what am I going to lean into? What does the world need? Those are the kind of things that guide me. So passion has been a thread through almost everything I've done.
And it's funny, I laugh because you laugh too about sleeping on the floor and getting 4 hours sleep, and hard work's so much important. People aren't given these things, right?
It's easy. People talk about hindsight bias and all those other things. And I know, again, I've been very fortunate. I have, and but I look back and I think about the effort and the sacrifice, my sacrifice, my co-founder sacrifice, my now wife, who was my, girlfriend and fiance, living, spending time with someone who worked 100-hour weeks, forgot everything because all I could think about was business. And we got a great result, but we sacrificed a lot and worked really hard. And so you look back and you're like, oh, it was great. I started a company 3 years later. I sold it for $15 million, and it sounds like it was just 1, 2 easy. Yeah. It's that day-to-day, every day, every night that that makes it happen.
Was it rewarding to do all that?
It was. I think I learned some really valuable lessons. One of them has, shaped the way I live my life today. I realized that, the result of working hard, I still believe in. It mattered on the soccer field. It matters in the business world. But what doesn't equate for me, and hasn't since August of 2000 basically, is sacrificing family or anything that matters. I made a decision in July of 2000, right before my daughter was born, that I wasn't going to miss any moments. And I didn't know how to reconcile the fact that I was pretty much a workaholic, but I looked at this little girl and said, I'm going to be there for dinner every night. I'm going to coach the soccer team and carve the pumpkins. And I refuse to stop being an entrepreneur because I love it, but I'm going to find a way to kind of quote, have both. I'm going to not accept the trade-off. Everyone around me at that time, smarter people, a lot smarter than me, mentors, kept saying, it's great that you're excited about your daughter, but you're an entrepreneur. It's 7 days a week. It's 24 hours a day. And I said, I hear you, but I'm going home at 5 o'clock every night. Like, I'm going to have dinner with my daughter. I'm going to be there. I just wanted to be that kind of dad. And everybody was telling me something's got to give. And the way I sort of describe it now, which is, I always get chills, oddly, even after all these years saying it, but that little girl I dropped off for her freshman year at NYU 19 years later. And I can look back and say, over those 19 years, I did. I carved every pumpkin. I was at every play. I've made plenty of mistakes, but I was there. But I also built and sold 4 more companies. Like, I didn't accept the trade-offs, and I know it's possible. So it's a big driving force of what I try to do to help people today, is because I know I have a lot of friends that I grew up with in my hometown. There was a lot of, banking, a lot of investment bankers, and they've been incredibly successful. They made a lot of money, and they're waking up at my age, early 50s, and thinking, all right, I've made my money, I can retire now. I'm like, your kids are in college. You missed it. You missed the whole journey. Oh, who cares how many houses you have or cars you have? Like, you weren't there, and so I feel really strongly about it now. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's something I'm passionate about.
Oh no, Mac, you could talk all day about that, because that is always the challenge when I talk to business owners, the work-life balance, and you solved it in a sense. You just said, no, I'm going to do it. And you were successful, because that's the ROI, right, of life.
I think so. I mean, I a lot of times, if I'm speaking at an event, I always feel like it's important for me to address exit strategy, scaling, all the things that matter to entrepreneurs, because I understand the importance. But I always try to provide the caveat of, there is a way to scale your life just like you scale your business. And I would argue they're so strategically aligned that I believe a lot of my later success was because when you leave at 5 o'clock every day, your team figures out how to run meetings without you. They create new processes. They assume that Mac is not going to prepare because Mac's got an event with his kids. And so by choosing those things, I actually think I built better companies. So I just think it's important to always find that there is a lot more than just the business. It's the business and life, health, family, whatever's important to you.
The cool side note to that is you empowered your employees to be better employees.
Exactly.
And you got to see your family and spend. I really like that, Mac, a lot. I hope a lot of people are listening, especially owners, founders, startups. You can still have that life, because I'm not a big fan of, hey, I'm married to my business and that's it. And if you got family, if you're single, that's a whole different story. But when you got family and your baby girl, you got great stories to tell. So we're talking about family and all this, and they're grown now, so it helps. Like you said, now you can really get into it. But you mentioned something. Why are you pursuing this next chapter, this newest chapter?
Well, for me, so I sold what was my 6th company in October of 2018. And so from that very first startup through October 2018, my life was literally 2 things. It was whatever company I was running and my family. And again, I prioritized for that, and we traveled the world and did great things. But anything outside of that, the day before the Super Bowl, I couldn't tell you who was playing. Like, I was head in the sand, didn't know, didn't pay attention. And in October of 2018, a group of entrepreneurs asked me to speak at an event. And I said, hey, I'm flattered. I appreciate it. I don't even attend events, much less speak at them. I'm not a speaker.
Yeah.
I'm a heads down entrepreneur. And they said, well, you've had all these exits. And, if you could just share with the group, which is mostly very successful entrepreneurs, some of your lessons learned. You don't have to be a great speaker. Just get up on stage and share the story. So long story short, I did that. I got up on stage. I kind of talked about my journey. I talked about a few things that I thought I had done well and a million mistakes I made. And here's things you should avoid and don't do this. And so I shared all these things. And as I walked off the stage, there were probably 8 or 9 entrepreneurs that like literally jogged up to me and said, Mac, I have investment bankers, I have CPAs and attorneys. I have never heard what you just spent an hour sharing on the stage. Like, I've never heard any of that before, and I need your help. So in that moment, it was perfect because I had already decided. I didn't think I was going to probably build another startup, and I just wanted to do something different. I really wanted to give back and help people, and I didn't know what that looked like until that moment. And then I said, you know what? All of these lessons learned, the things that I've been through, good and bad, for 27 years, there's no one talking about this stuff. There's no one helping entrepreneurs that are successful as engineers or designers suddenly put on a hat and say, I need to take my life's work and make it count. I need to give it to the right partner. I need to sell it for enough money that I can retire or pay off my debt or pay for my children. And so I decided, that's got to be the next chapter for me. These things that I feel so passionate about, and I've been uniquely, gifted or positioned, if nothing else, to have been on this journey. I need to help other entrepreneurs because I've been in their shoes. I've slept on the floor. I've laid in bed wondering how I'm going to pay my house payment, to the other extreme. And I know what those things look like. So yeah, for me, getting to this point, I just was really excited that I thought, okay, that's my calling. I can help people with that. That's where I've been, and that's what I want to help people do.
Well, experience teaches us a lot of lessons, and now you have the opportunity to share those lessons real life.
Right.
What's the impact? I love speaking because I've heard a real powerful speaker talk about go up and speak and don't pitch your product, don't pitch your service or whatever it is. They want to hear about you like you just did because you've done it. And then they get back to the bar and it's like deals are flying back and forth. Like what you said, hey, I need you over here. Can we look at this? So the lesson there, I guess, is what you're saying is it's all about you when you speak and what you've done and what you've learned.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing I've been told by a number of advisors and people that I consider really smart, good friends, they'll say sometimes you're too self-deprecating or whatever. And so I genuinely I want to share stories, but I think a lot of the value is in mistakes I've made because I want to help people avoid them. I sold my first company for a lot of money, but I left millions of dollars on the table because I didn't know what I was doing. And if that would have been my only exit, that was life-changing money that I left on the table because I didn't know any better. And I can help people so easily prevent those mistakes and maximize the value because most entrepreneurs have one chance. It's their life's work and they're going to have one exit. And if you don't maximize value, it could mean the difference between living an amazing life or kind of continuing to stay in the grind, or 75% of entrepreneurs that are trying to sell and can't even get a deal done. So I really feel like, when I get up on stage or if I speak, it's really just with the mindset of I want to help people navigate through this important process and be prepared. And if they ever choose to work with me, great. I would love to help them. But if I speak to 1,000 people and 999 get actionable advice for free and go off and do good things, I couldn't be happier. The fact that one person decides to join, my mastermind or a program with me, like that's great. But it's really about those 999 because that's what I want. I want to impact. And I think it's been a challenge for me because having been a heads down entrepreneur focused on family and business, people don't know who I am. I mean, they don't know that I can help them. So part of my challenge has been, how do I let people know I'm pretty qualified to help them on this journey? Investment bankers may have the pedigree and they're probably a lot smarter than me, but they may not have sold 6 companies. They may not have made the mistakes I made. They may not have navigated through the struggles and the challenges of dealing with the humans on all sides of that. And so I really feel like that's my kind of calling and what I can help people do, but I got to get the word out.
Yeah. Branding is big, especially with a good cause like that. And you're a true servant because you're giving that stuff away free. And I hear people say all the time, I can't give my IP away. I'm like, yeah, you can, because they need you to run it.
Yeah.
Just because you give it to me, I can't do it by myself. It's interesting, that thought. So you had 6 exits, very successful exits. What's a servant leader mean to you?
Well, I think it's been really interesting for the whole journey. Like if I look back to the very beginning, what are the critical success factors for me, for my businesses? What's led to the best outcomes? It always is people. I mean, always. It is always, surrounding yourself with people that are more qualified than you, better than you, smarter than you, better positioned than you, all of those things. And so I, from a very early age, said, that's really one of my roles with my company. I might be CEO by title, but my job is to find amazing people and put them in a position to win. And so much like you mentioned earlier, when I would get up, the first couple of times I got up at 4:45 in the afternoon or 5 o'clock, I'm literally running a meeting, sit the mic down or take the whiteboard pen and set it down and physically walk out of the room. People thought I lost my mind. But you could see within 1 week how behavior started to change. People thought, all right, Mac trusts us to manage the meeting in his absence. Mac will allow us to learn the skills to run these meetings or make the sales call or develop the product. And I was far from holding people back. I was the opposite. I was like, good, if you can take it, it's yours. And so a lot of it to me, I think because of the decisions I was trying to make to optimize for certain parts of my life, I really embraced the idea that your job as a leader is just to help your team succeed and give them credit and give them opportunities and, throw them in the deep end. Sometimes they're going to sink, sometimes they're going to swim. But if you don't do that, guaranteed you're not going to scale your business. You're not going to have personal freedom. You're never going to be able to exit. Those are so aligned that to me, I would be misrepresenting myself if I was always like, hey, I just was a servant. Like selfishly, it was the smartest thing to do.
Yep. It's a win-win for everybody.
It's a
That's
win-win.
the thing.
Exactly.
You bring value, you have value. And I've heard the phrase many times, people, process, and product.
Mm-hmm.
The 3, Mark Lemonis talks about it. Is people the most important thing in those 3 words, or am I off base a little bit?
I think so. I mean, I honestly, we talked about just before the podcast started, I've been a relatively prolific angel investor as well. And one of the things that I always say is give me a good team and an okay product all day long, but a great product with the wrong people, dead in the water. I wouldn't write the check. I don't believe in it. It's not going to be successful. I don't think great products often win, much less always. I think it is the combination of, good product, good process. I believe in all those things, but I overweight so strongly on people because good people can figure the other stuff out. They navigate through turbulence. They figure out when COVID hits, what do we do? The way we did business for 10 years changes in an instant. How do we deal with that? A product can't fix that. A process can't fix that because the process is no longer valid. People can say, oh, there's a different way to navigate. There's a different approach to the market. There's a different way to communicate to customers or whatever. So yeah, I have a tendency to feel like, as an investor, as a leader, it's always overweight people and then everything else kind of takes care of itself.
That's a great answer. I mean, that's the first time I've heard that answer. People mostly say people, but I love how you delved into that, especially a pivot with COVID. And another COVID's going to happen down the road in business. That happen all the time, which is people like, oh my God, just like you've done 6 of them, be prepared.
Well, people, they, use the term black swan. They're like, well, black swan events, I'm like, all right, maybe it's my age showing, but like the dot-com bubble and the real estate crisis and the financial crisis and the pandemic and the recession, like I feel like there's a black swan event every year of my life. Like it's just which one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
coming.
And you just deal with it and move on and do what you have to, like you said, pivot. Interesting, because sounds like you were such a servant in these companies. Did you notice that serving habit and mentality trickle down to the, I don't want to say lower levels, but to the mainstream of your employees?
I don't want to, yeah, I actually don't want to take too much credit because I think in a number of my companies, I had co-founders or executives or leaders that were amazing. And I would often say to the team, or if I was dealing with an investor or a board member, I would say, there are two or three things that I do particularly well, and everything else someone else is doing because they're better at it than me. And so I naturally always thought if I stay in my lane, which is pretty narrow, it's not a huge, 6-lane highway that I'm running. Like there are a couple things that I probably should be doing because that's maybe what I'm gifted at doing. But I always had, co-founders and leaders that were so talented and so good. I was always happy to say, you should run this. You should take this to the next level. These people should report to you. I have no ego about it. Like you're a better manager than me or whatever the case would be. So I think it's really, looking in the mirror and saying, what are my strengths? Where am I most useful to the business? And any areas that we need to be successful, I have to have another human in those areas. It could be one person that does all 5 of them if you're lucky, but whatever your critical success factors, a human has to own them. And I usually had 1 or 2, and there are probably 20 in every company, but 1 or 2 were sort of mine, but everything else, another person, another human had to own. And a lot of the credit for our success was those people doing their jobs incredibly well.
What a winning culture you had. I mean, I can feel it and see it. And let's go back to family. Having these people be servants and take over allowed you to leave at 4:45. So it goes right,
Exactly.
it circles right back to that. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. And I like I said, I really, I think with the bias of hindsight, I'd love to think I was a whatever, maybe I was a great leader, but really more than anything, I was so focused and selfish, honestly, about time. I was like, I'm not going to get the time back. I want it with my family. I want the business to be successful. How do I balance these things? I put great people in a position to be successful, and that gives me personal freedom that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So I do think, it's why I like the whole idea of capitalism. My mentor and I used to always, in a healthy way, debate about nonprofits. And I said, the only problem I ever have with nonprofits is their bureaucracy getting in the way of their success. Like whatever their mission is, like that's what matters. Feed starving children, educate people, save this group, save that group. Give me a cause and let the work happen. And so, I often looked at it that way and said, I want to be selfish about my time. I want to be selfish about what matters to me in my life, but I want my people around me to do the same thing. If they care about their health, I want them working out at 6 a.m. and going for a healthy lunch and leaving early to sleep well, whatever matters to them, because that's what's going to allow them to optimize when it matters in the business, because they're happy and they're content and they feel good about the other parts of their life. If they're working all the time and feeling angry about their health going down or their time with their family going down, they're not performing well either. They're not good workers. So I think it really always kind of comes back around to a win-win, good alignment. And, luckily over the body of work, although there was plenty of moments where alignment isn't working because you're in a crisis and you do what you have to do. But over a long time, I feel like that alignment really makes the difference.
And you proved it. 6 companies, 6 exits. And you're so humble, not from, hey, I made all this money, but I proved that it works. And now you're sharing it with others. We're running out of time here, but I can't wait to ask this question. You've done so much. You've been busy. You slept on that bed. You've taken care of your family. What's next for Mac?
Well, I think I look at the next chapter, which I hope is a long one. It really is this combination of helping people in the areas where I think I am positioned to provide insights and value. So I have, my Exit DNA program that I work with entrepreneurs in. I've written and have a free ebook out there. I'm actually working on an actual book now. I just want to give content and help people, because I think that stuff's really important. And I know that you just don't want to look back and regret. And we're all going to make mistakes, but the regret of leaving life-changing money on the table by not thinking proactively about your exit plan, or not spending time with your children because you're so stressed about, one more incremental quarter's growth, it doesn't matter. In the whole scheme of things, that doesn't matter. So helping people get confidence and clarity around that, I think, is where I can be most effective at this point in my life.
Now, that's so well said. I really appreciate you having me on, because you've done so much, and I think serving when you're abundance like you have, and you've done so well, you need to give back. I know I'm going to do that when I get to your level or any level like that. I love hearing it, because I think a lot of people are successful, made a lot of money, kind of hold on to it. And you got so many ways you're helping people. So I appreciate you. This is the Matt Lackey Show, Doing Business Servant's Heart Show with Matt Lackey. It was his show because he really gave us some great tips. I hope to see everybody on the next episode, and we'll talk to you soon.